In this interview, Farage is doing what he always does, dodging accountability, blaming everyone else, and still pretending Brexit hasn't actually happened. Welcome to another Nigel Farage car crash interview.
When you look at Brexit today and what has happened in the last 9 years, and you say that it's a poorer country today than it was, do you think it was worth having the referendum in 2016?
Do I think freedom's worth it? Yes, absolutely. Do I think self-governance is worth it? Yes, of course I do. Do I think the ability to control your borders is worth having? Yes, I do. Now, have we exercised it? No.
But that's why I asked the question, was it worth having it in 2016, the vote, given what we know now?
Well,
sterling has never recovered its value. Business investment, which was rising, has stalled since that.
No, I mean, look, even as Keir Starmer himself says, the deep-seated economic problems within the country predate Brexit, even predate the pandemic. And our response to it, our productivity problems being perhaps just one very, very good example.
But the difference here, and the thing I find odd with the presenter, is Nigel said Brexit would fix all of these problems.
Have cheaper food, cheaper shoes, cheaper bras.
We can give people cheaper food, cheaper bras, cheaper shoes. It's a massive opportunity.
So you say.
Even if things did go wrong, let's just assume that things went wrong.
Yeah.
But the worst case scenario, economically, is better than where we are today. If Brexit is a disaster, I will go and live abroad. I'll go and live somewhere else.
Yeah, but we've seen the pound has been tanking today. We've seen... is that not happening?
It's very funny.
So if that wasn't enough for you, we've got Nigel Farage then being asked about what he would do with EU alignment, and repeatedly he seems to avoid the question, either because he's an imbecile or for some other strange reason. He does answer it, though, at the end.
Today, if you became Prime Minister, would you rip up the treaty, the agreement that Keir Starmer made with the EU earlier this year?
Well, the whole treaty is up for renegotiation anyway. It's a very poor treaty. We can do a lot better than that. We'll have to play hardball. If you play hardball, you have to mean it. That's the art of
negotiation. I've heard this before.
But from whom?
Well, I've heard this before from Conservatives, not from people in your party, but from people who believed in Brexit.
They didn't believe in it. They never
only you
believed
believed it.
They never, Michelle, they never believed in it.
Let's just go back to what you would do then.
They belatedly accepted Brexit, because if they hadn't, they would have faced political extinction.
So Boris Johnson, who led the campaign for Brexit and went around the entire country saying how great Brexit would be, never believed in it, but also, and Boris faced political extinction by becoming Prime Minister of Britain. No wonder Reform can't get out of that 30% funk that it's in. It's because he keeps saying absolutely wild stuff.
Brexit has never been done properly. You, as Prime Minister, would reshape our relationship with the EU.
What
do you mean?
If Brexit hadn't happened, the reason I'm here...
No, I mean, if you were Prime Minister, what would you do with the current alignment that we have with the EU on many areas?
Well, look, we've been weak as hell. We've given in, we've given in, we've given in. We've expected favours in return. We haven't got any. It needs a tough renegotiation. And ultimately, even though we've got huge economic problems, they've got some pretty serious problems too. In fact, the French have an even bigger, not just economic, but constitutional crisis as well. Giving away our fish for the next 12 years. Things like that. Completely outrageous. Total betrayal of what people voted for.
Ah yes, fishing. Farage and fishing. It is the acid test for Brexit. And yet...
all the promises have not materialised.
If we vote for Brexit, we'll save this industry.
We're going to become, once again, an independent coastal state.
We will be able to ban these huge Hoover trawlers.
Brexit, it will deliver and is delivering a huge uplift in quota.
Fishing was like the poster child for Brexit at one point. If anyone was going to win from this vote, it was going to be the fishing communities, and here we are several years later, and industrial fishing is really rife, and the small-scale fishing communities are still losing.
The acid test for Brexit is fishing?
I think it is, and I tell you why. It's going to take some considerable courage to say to our European partners, I'm very sorry. I know you've had a fabulous time catching 80% of our fish, but we're actually going to take back what is rightfully ours.
And this is the extraordinary thing that happens with Farage. He just thinks he can walk away from the deal and it won't affect the economy, or we'll just take the hit, it's not a problem because Nigel's rich.
£450,000 a year after the referendum.
Unfortunately not. It would have been if it was true, it'd be lovely.
Did he pay for your flat?
It would have been lovely.
Did he pay for your estates?
Where I went on holiday and what my private arrangements are none of your business or anybody else's. It wasn't the cheapest thing I've ever done, but I
Private plane.
A little plane that hopped us over.
A little plane. And who paid for that plane?
Me.
Right. It's a very elitist thing to do, Nigel Farage. You're always ranting against the elite. And here you are swanning
quite
around
the
the
opposite,
private
really.
plane.
Right. But I mean, you know, if the taxpayer wants to fund it, I'll be delighted, but I shan't be asking.
Remove yourself from being an ordinary man in touch with the people. But are you, in fact, a kept man?
With whatever you want to
It's
bore
a
on.
legitimate question about the money that you were paid by Arron Banks between 2016 and 2017, funding your lifestyle and your political operation to the tune of almost £500,000 that year.
3 or 4 times that, I'd have thought.
So £13,000 for the house in Chelsea paid for by Arron Banks? True or not true?
So is there a European election next week?
Yeah, we'll ask about that
Good.
in a minute.
Good.
But can we talk about the money? Can
No,
we
you
talk
won't.
about the money for a second?
No, not really.
So £5,000 for the bodyguard and driver a month, £13,000 for the house in Chelsea a month. You said in 2017 that you were skint, that there was no money in politics, but there clearly was quite a lot of money in it for you, wasn't there? Yes or no? Why do you want to talk about these things? I mean, none of this is illegal, but this is important. You're running for public office. It's a matter of transparency.
It certainly is. We've got a democratic election next Thursday, which is all about democracy, and you won't even talk about it.
You rail against the elite, the metropolitan elite in London.
I rail against people like you. You're
Exactly.
quite right.
And yet you're living the lifestyle of the elite, or you were, financed by very rich friends.
Terrible, isn't it?
No comment on this?
None at all.
Nigel, who's paying for all this now? Is Arron Banks still paying for some of it? Who's paying for all this now, Nigel? Nigel, one more time, just for the record, who's paying for this operation now, for all your bodyguards?
Russians.
And still, without answering what he's going to do with the EU, he starts talking about how he's a risk taker.
I love a gamble. I love stacking up the odds, and it's only been through taking enormous risks that the party and I have got to where we are today. Is that the kind of Prime Minister you would be, a risk-taking Prime Minister?
We need far more risk-taking. And by the way, much more broad in the Prime Minister, we need to encourage risk-taking in the economy.
Now, I don't know about you, but people who like taking risks and people who like to, as they call it, deregulate, which means they don't want to have any oversight on the financial sector, for example, they cause me concern because last time we had someone like that, this happened.
The heightened financial turmoil that we have experienced of late may well lengthen the period of weak economic performance and further increase the risk to growth.
Can't look at it after you buy it. It's so horrible.
But we've had an 8-day losing streak in the Dow that in percentage terms puts it on par, close to the loss suffered in that crash in 1987, close to that percentage loss those 2 days in 1929.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.
We're down 9% today. The Xetra DAX over in Frankfurt is down by 9%. The Paris market down by 9%. Austria, which was briefly suspended earlier on in the day, is down by nearly 11%.
This market is as volatile as you'll ever see.
Traders saying this is the craziest day they have ever seen in these markets. Veteran traders saying they've never seen anything like it. The movement in oil prices so fast, so fast.
Seconds to go until the start of trading at the New York Stock Exchange, and stocks are set to kick off lower, a whole lot lower.
eBay is down 6.5%, and really you're seeing just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors. Apple's under pressure.
Now, I went to Crash Course Economics to get a clip that I thought would be quite useful in explaining what really happened with that 2008 crash and showing how deregulation caused the crash.
The government failed to regulate and supervise the financial system. To quote the Bipartisan Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission report,
the sentries were not at their posts, in no small part due to the widely accepted faith in the self-correcting nature of the markets and the ability of financial institutions to effectively police themselves.
The report placed some of the blame on the years of deregulation in the financial industry and blamed regulators themselves for not doing more. The financial industry failed. Everyone in the system was borrowing too much money and taking too much risk.
And since Brexit, we've been seeing the City of London demand more and more that it wants to be deregulated, from Rishi Sunak to only this year in 2025. And we have this man now saying he wants to take even more risks. That is clearly a signal to the City of London, but it's also a massive red flag to the economy.
And you have been known all your life for taking risks, right? It's in your book.
Everything in life's about risk.
And that
life is about...
You pride yourself on being a gambler. Can I read these words to you?
Entrepreneurship's about risk.
I love a gamble. I love stacking up the odds, and it's only been through taking enormous risks that the party and I have got to where we are today. Is that the kind of Prime Minister you would be, a risk-taking Prime Minister?
We need far more risk-taking.
And then look and listen to this, where the question again for a third time comes up: what is his position on EU alignment?
Nearest neighbour, the big geography that puts this big market on our door. You take a risk with that in the interest of a greater good.
When you're in a bad relationship, you have to take risks to reshape it.
What he's essentially announcing is that he is going to walk away from the EU and our alignment deals, which is hugely problematic, and I'll explain in a minute. But here he is doubling down.
So how would you reshape it? You'd end alignment, is that what you're saying?
Alignment's catastrophic.
So you'd end it?
Catastrophic, moronic.
You'd end alignment with the EU if you were Prime Minister.
It's keeping us firmly hooked back in the 20th century, not in the 21st. It makes no sense at all from any angle.
And yet his whole gambit is going back to the 19th century by having Britain outside the EU to do the same things over and over again and expect a different result is the definition of insanity. We had this experiment by having separate nations in Europe, and it caused World War I. We tried that experiment again in the 1920s and 30s, and we ended up with World War II.
This is what we know about Brexit and the economy. This is the Non-Partisan Institute for Fiscal Studies.
We've lost a large fraction of our trade with the European Union, including with high-value professional services trade. That's making us poorer.
The Office for Budget Responsibility is the official body that provides independent economic analysis. It's concluded there's been a 15% reduction in trade intensity as a result of Brexit. It also released this data. The red line shows UK exports. Unlike other advanced economies, the UK's exports haven't bounced back after COVID.
Here's former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak talking about how great it is for parts of the UK to be in the single market.
Northern Ireland is in the unbelievably special position, unique position in the entire world, European continent, in having privileged access, not just to the UK home market, which is enormous, 5th biggest in the world, but also the European Union single market. Nobody else has that. No one.
And yet Nigel Farage, and he finally admits it, wants to end EU-UK trade alignment.
Is that a yes to the question I've asked? You would end alignment with the EU as Prime Minister completely?
100% plus.
That means Nigel wants a hard border with the UK and the EU. And that means goods coming in from the EU will go up in price, like pharmaceuticals. It means you're going to see a lot more of this on your food packaging. I don't know about you, but that puts me off buying those products. It means that British companies will have to double their labelling, one for the UK and one for the EU. That increases cost, and that cost is passed on to consumers. And that causes a thing called inflation, and you've already been experiencing it. The Trussell Trust came out in September and said that these prices had gone up by that amount as a percentage. Milk and eggs at 47%. That's not a Brexit bonus, that's just damage. And yet, that's what Nigel Farage wants you to all experience.
End alignment with the EU as Prime Minister completely.
100% plus.
Okay.
Personally, another car crash of an interview, but the press don't really seem to have picked up on the nuances. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is this an economic death note? And if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like and subscribe button, but also share it around with your friends. Once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon YouTube subscribers. You keep this channel going and growing. If you'd like to become one, there is a link in the description. If you enjoyed today's video, you might like my book, Manufactured Fear, available on Amazon.